Netflix makes more than $10 billion a year. Yet most people think they pay Netflix too little. How is that possible? Because Netflix isn't selling movies. It's selling something much more valuable. Throughout this video, you'll discover the single equation that determines almost every decision Netflix makes. Everyone thinks Netflix is one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world. They're wrong. Netflix isn't winning because it makes great movies. It's winning because it built one of the most efficient economic machines ever created. Every recommendation, every TV show, every subscription plan exists to optimize one equation. And once you understand that equation, you'll never look at Netflix the same way again. This dual access chart tracks Netflix's recent financial performance. The company generates over $45 billion in annual revenue while maintaining an operating margin climbing toward 30%, all while charging a relatively low monthly fee. These figures are difficult to reconcile if Netflix is evaluated as a traditional media distributor that simply sells movies. The modern model replaced a legacy rental system built on physical constraints. The economics of video stores relied on consumer inconvenience, with Blockbuster alone collecting roughly $800 million in late fees in the year 2000. Transitioning to DVD by mail repositioned the brand to eliminate these punitive frictions. By removing late fees and inventory stockouts, Netflix removed the penalties associated with watching a movie. This strategy secured a critical economic advantage. Subscription fees were collected upfront, providing predictable front-loaded cash flow before the company fulfilled any service. Netflix traded the friction of transactional sales for a recurring revenue engine. This shift provided the financial visibility necessary to fund long-term infrastructure and content investment. Underneath the user interface, Netflix operates as a closed-loop subscription engine governed entirely by a specific mathematical logic. This equation defines customer lifetime value. It serves as the structural blueprint for every strategic decision the company makes. The numerator, average revenue per user multiplied by gross margin, calculates the raw cash generated by a single subscriber. The denominator is the monthly churn rate, or the percentage of cancellations. Because this divides the value above it, a shrinking churn rate creates an exponential increase in the total worth of the subscriber base. Every technical innovation and creative greenlight at Netflix exists specifically to optimize one of these three variables. To see how Netflix protects its gross margin, we have to look at its largest expenditure, the $13 to $17 billion deployed annually for content. Macroeconomic factors can cause temporary dips in this spending, such as the 2023 labor strikes that dropped outlay to $13 billion. However, when production is at capacity, the underlying capital strategy remains consistent. Netflix uses capitalization to manage these costs. Upfront cash spent during filming does not hit the income statement immediately. Instead, it is recorded as a content asset on the balance sheet. Through an accelerated amortization schedule, over 90% of a title's recognized value is expensed on the income statement within the first 3 months of its release. This creates significant operating leverage because amortization is a fixed cost. Adding more subscribers divides that expense across a larger revenue base. Owning original intellectual property, rather than licensing it from competitors, secures these assets indefinitely. Proprietary content has no expiration date and requires no regional rights negotiations. Netflix treats high-budget original programming as a capitalized asset that aggressively expands gross margin, as the global subscriber base scales. Delivering billions of hours of 4K video traditionally carries high physical costs. In a standard model, pushing heavy data across the open internet incurs variable per gigabyte transit fees. While standard cloud infrastructure through Amazon Web Services handles billing and user interface data, heavy video delivery requires a different architecture to remain profitable. Netflix spent over $1 billion deploying up to 14,000 custom hardware appliances called Open Connect. These servers sit physically inside local internet service provider networks. During off-peak hours, Netflix pushes anticipated popular content to these local servers. This bypasses peak internet traffic and prepares the data for local access. Internet service providers host these servers for free because it saves them an estimated $1.25 billion in transit fees. Netflix, in turn, achieves buffer-free 4K delivery. This proprietary network eliminated the middleman, driving the marginal cost of delivering a stream to nearly zero and protecting the company's operating margin. We now turn to the denominator of the LTV equation, monthly churn. A fractional reduction in cancellations translates to billions of dollars in enterprise value. Netflix prioritizes the completion rate over traditional overnight ratings. A show is evaluated based on the percentage of subscribers who finish the entire season within a 90-day window. The company applies portfolio theory to production. Highly efficient, low-cost shows with high completion rates provide the financial stability needed to take risks on massive budget cultural hits. The recommendation engine serves as a critical retention tool. Its ability to prevent cancellations is valued at over $1 billion per year. The platform uses collaborative filtering to rebuild the homepage in real time, even personalizing the artwork for a title based on a user's specific viewing history. User cancellations typically occur the moment a platform feels like a library of irrelevant content. These algorithms function as preventative infrastructure engineered specifically to minimize churn by ensuring users never reach the point of cancellation. The final variable is average revenue per user. As subscriber growth in the United States and Europe reached saturation, Netflix had to find new ways to increase the value of each account. The addressable market for high-priced ad-free plans has a natural ceiling. This led to a strategic reversal and the introduction of an ad-supported tier. The ad-supported tier operates as a dual revenue vehicle. While the base subscription price is lower, the addition of high-rate programmatic advertising revenue allows these users to match or exceed the profitability of standard plans. This architecture captures budget-conscious users without cannibalizing revenue from premium subscribers. Netflix also used network telemetry and device identification to enforce household boundaries. This forced millions of non-paying password sharers to convert into revenue-generating accounts. These enforcement and advertising strategies pushed revenue growth back above 15%, extracting deeper value from mature markets. The LTV equation functions as a continuous loop. Upfront revenue funds capitalized content, which is distributed via Open Connect and optimized by the algorithm to minimize churn and maximize reinvestment. During the streaming wars, legacy media companies attempted to buy market share by underpricing subscriptions and spending heavily on content libraries. These competitors lacked Netflix's proprietary infrastructure and data moat. Relying on third-party delivery networks resulted in massive operating losses that were unsustainable over time. Netflix is now expanding into live programming to further lower its churn rate in mature markets. Live sports create a time-sensitive reason for users to stay subscribed. This weekly habituation is something on-demand content alone cannot provide. Integrating recurring live events like weekly wrestling matches further cements the platform as a mandatory household utility. Netflix outperformed the legacy studios by building an accelerating financial flywheel, a closed-loop system that is now large enough to absorb the entire ecosystem of live television. The success of this model follows 5 principles. Remove consumer friction. Transition to recurring revenue. Build a physical infrastructure moat. Treat every data point as a strategic asset. Every department at the company reinforces the next. Higher subscriber counts feed the data engine, which improves the algorithm, which reduces churn, and provides more capital for content. This machine serves 278 million households at a near zero marginal cost per stream, resulting in over $10 billion in operating income. The Netflix logo identifies a recurring revenue engine calibrated for global scale. This system expresses the logic of subscription economics through the medium of movies and television. Netflix became the most valuable entertainment company in the world, not by mastering movies, but by mastering the economics underneath them. Great companies don't just build products, they build systems. Netflix happens to build one of the smartest systems in modern business. If you enjoy breaking down the business logic behind companies like Apple, Costco, Amazon, or Starbucks, subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is about.